Propulsid. The generic name is Cisapride. The FDA approved it in 1993 for a simple problem: nighttime heartburn. You eat a heavy meal, you take a pill, you go to sleep. The drug works by speeding up digestion. It makes your stomach empty faster. That part worked fine. But Propulsid also does something else. It interferes with the electrical wiring of the human heart. It causes a condition called QT prolongation. The heart loses its normal rhythm. It beats erratically, then it stops. The FDA knew about this risk before approval. The clinical trials showed heart rhythm abnormalities, but the agency approved Propulsid anyway. By the time the FDA finally pulled the drug in 2000, Propulsid was linked to more than 300 deaths. But the most disturbing part is that the victims were not adults with heartburn. They were infants. Doctors prescribed Propulsid to babies with acid reflux, newborns, 3-month-olds. One of them was a boy named Scott Engelbrick. His parents enrolled him in a Propulsid clinical trial. They thought they were helping him. They trusted the FDA. Scott died. The coroner initially wrote SIDS on the death certificate, sudden infant death syndrome. A tragedy, but not a scandal. Later, after a full investigation, the coroner changed the cause of death. Scott Engelbrick died from participating in a Propulsid study. The FDA allowed Propulsid to stay on the market for 7 more years after the first death reports arrived. 7 years. 300 bodies. And a dead infant whose parents trusted the system. Fin and Redux. The 1990s had one obsession: being thin. Diet culture was everywhere, and the drug companies had an answer: Fin, the most famous diet cocktail in history, a combination of fenfluramine and phentermine. Later, a sister drug called Redux joined the market. Here is what you need to know. An FDA advisory committee voted against approving Redux. The experts said the safety data did not support approval. The FDA overruled them and approved Redux in 1996. Why? Public pressure. AIDS activists had successfully pushed the FDA to approve drugs faster. The diet industry wanted the same treatment. The FDA wanted to look helpful, so they ignored their own experts. In 1997, doctors started noticing something terrifying. Young women, healthy weight, no history of heart disease, showing up with shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue. Heart failure in people who should have had decades of healthy life. Scans revealed the problem. Their heart valves looked like Swiss cheese. The valves could not close properly. Blood flowed backward. The heart drowned in its own circulation. The cause was Fin and Redux. The drugs caused valvular regurgitation, permanent, irreversible destruction of heart tissue. The FDA pulled the drugs after they were linked to 123 confirmed deaths. But the real scale of the disaster showed up in the courtroom. The manufacturer Wyeth paid nearly $14 billion to victims, the largest drug settlement in history at that time. Here is the detail that should make you angry. European studies had already shown a link between these drugs and a fatal lung disease called pulmonary hypertension. The FDA had that data before approval. They approved the drugs anyway. Rezulin. Diabetes is a brutal disease. It destroys your eyes, your kidneys, your nerves, your blood vessels. Patients will try anything to control their blood sugar. In 1997, the FDA gave them Rezulin. One FDA medical officer did something unusual. He wrote a detailed letter opposing the approval. His name was Dr. John Garrigian. He said the drug would kill people. Why? Rezulin was toxic to the liver. The clinical trials showed elevated liver enzymes in patients. Elevated liver enzymes are the canary in the coal mine. When your liver enzymes spike, your liver is screaming for help. The FDA approved Rezulin anyway. Within 2 years, patients started dropping dead from liver failure. One woman in her 50s took Rezulin for 6 months. She felt tired. Then her skin turned yellow. Then she was dead. Her liver had completely dissolved. Rezulin was cited as a suspect in 391 deaths and linked to 91 cases of liver failure. The FDA finally pulled the drug in March 2000, but by then, hundreds of people had already paid with their lives. Baycol. Cholesterol drugs are supposed to save your heart. Baycol did the opposite. Approved in 1997, Baycol was a statin, same class as Lipitor and Crestor, but Baycol had a unique and horrible side effect. It caused a condition called rhabdomyolysis. Here is what rhabdomyolysis means. Your muscle tissue melts. It breaks down so fast that the debris floods your kidneys. Your kidneys clog up. Then they shut down completely. Then you die. Patients taking Baycol would wake up with back pain, muscle pain. Then their urine would turn dark brown, like cola. That was the melted muscle tissue coming out. The FDA approved Baycol at a higher dose than European regulators allowed. The manufacturer Bayer pushed for the higher dose. The FDA went along. When the death reports started arriving, Bayer delayed notifying the FDA. They kept selling the drug while they knew it was killing people. Internal documents later showed that Bayer executives discussed the problem months before the recall. Baycol was finally pulled in 2001 after being linked to 52 confirmed deaths in the United States alone. The global toll was much higher. You might think these stories are ancient history. The 1990s, a different FDA, a different era. Wrong. In 2024, 2 drugs approved by the FDA had to be pulled from the market for killing patients. First, Andexxa. Andexxa was a reversal agent, a drug designed to stop bleeding in patients who were on blood thinners, an antidote. The required follow-up trial produced catastrophic results. Patients taking Andexxa had more than double the rate of blood clots compared to patients who got standard care, 14.6% versus 6.9%. 6 deaths from blood clots in the Andexxa group, 2 in the control group. AstraZeneca pulled Andexxa from the market in December 2024. The FDA admitted that the risks now outweigh the benefits. Second, Oxbryta. This was a drug for sickle cell disease. Sickle cell is a brutal genetic disorder. It causes excruciating pain, organ damage, and early death. Oxbryta was supposed to help. Post-marketing data showed something else. Patients taking Oxbryta had more pain crises and more deaths than patients taking a placebo. The drug was worse than nothing. Pfizer pulled it in September 2024. 2 drugs pulled 2 years ago for killing people. So why does the FDA keep approving drugs that kill people? 2 reasons. First, clinical trials are too small. A typical drug trial involves 3,000 patients. A side effect that kills 1 in 10,000 people will not show up until the drug hits the mass market. That means the first time anyone learns a drug is lethal is when real patients start dying. Second, money. The FDA is partially funded by the very drug companies it regulates. The Prescription Drug User Fee Act allows the FDA to collect millions in fees from pharmaceutical companies to hire more reviewers. Critics say this creates a conflict of interest. The FDA becomes a partner, not a watchdog. When a drug company pushes for approval, the FDA listens. FDA approval is not a guarantee of safety. It is a statement that based on limited data, the benefits might outweigh the risks. Might is doing a lot of work in that sentence. If you are prescribed a new drug, especially one approved in the last 5 years, do your homework. Ask your doctor about post-marketing data. Ask if there have been any safety withdrawals in the same drug class. And if something feels wrong, report it to the FDA's MedWatch system. Because the only way we catch these killers is when patients speak up. The FDA stamp does not mean safe. It means maybe safe, and sometimes it means dead.